Shabbat Shalom. My office has one window, which overlooks our nursery school playground. Sometimes I glance outside and see the children playing, racing up and down the slide and zigzagging from one end of the roof to the other. But sometimes, as I look through that window, I do so with a catch in my throat, thinking about the world beyond that playground. I think about the harshness and the cruelty, none of it apparent to these children. But mostly I think about how beyond this small and sacred space where our preschoolers play so freely, there is a world growing increasingly and unfathomably hostile to these children and to all Jews. Yesterday, I awoke to the news that a group of 5 Jewish girls had been attacked in a Skokie, Illinois park. As one of the mothers wrote, on October 7th, our 13-year-old daughter and her friends were chased by more than 20 masked boys, shouting that they would kill them. They were targeted for one reason. They were identifiably Jewish. The only question asked was, "Are you Jewish?" When they answered yes, the mob charged, shouting anti-Semitic threats and firing gel gun pellets. 2 of those pellets struck my daughter in the leg, knocking her down. This was not kids being kids. This was a targeted, violent, anti-Semitic attack on Jewish minors in their synagogue dresses on a Jewish holiday. The fact that it happened on October 7th makes it all the more chilling. More and more, it seems that anti-Semitic violence is becoming normalized across the world and the political spectrum. In recent months, we have witnessed astonishing acts of anti-Semitic violence. The murders of Yaron Lashinsky and Sara Milgram, shot as they left a Jewish event at a Jewish museum. The firebombing of Boulder, Colorado's hostage vigil, killing 1, injuring many. The car ramming and knife attack at Heaton Park Hebrew congregation on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. And this list could go on. And in just this week and change alone, anti-Semitic acts have surfaced in disturbing numbers. A report exposed a text chain among young Republicans that included vile phrases like, "I love Hitler," and "everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber." These were not the rantings of immature teens, but the words of adults who were astonishingly in positions of leadership. In another incident, Paul Ingracia, a right-wing lawyer nominated to lead the office of the special counsel, bragged that he had a Nazi streak. That nomination has now been withdrawn, but as of this evening, Ingracia is still employed by the White House, serving as the liaison to the Department of Homeland Security. And this week also saw Graham Plattner, a Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate in Maine, come under scrutiny for a tattoo that resembled the Totenkopf, a Nazi symbol emblazoned on the caps of SS guards at concentration camps. Plattner claimed he didn't know the meaning of it, but his former campaign director, who resigned last Friday, rebuffed that claim, saying he had been aware of its meaning for years. He could have had it removed or covered. He chose not to. On a related note, a friend of mine whose name clearly bears his Jewish identity commented on an online article about Graham Plattner's tattoo. He wrote, "The problem was getting the tattoo to begin with. Immediately, someone replied to him with a single word meant as a slur: Zionist." The truth of the matter is, we cannot speak of the anti-Semitism in our midst without acknowledging the anti-Zionism that has become so prevalent in our political discourse. This rhetoric alienates and disenfranchises the Jewish community and serves to divide us as well. It is provocative and in many cases even dangerous. Knowing that the firebomber in Boulder, Colorado said he wanted to kill all Zionist people, that the murderer of Yaron and Sara shouted, "Free, free Palestine," after he shot them, and that this killing was celebrated by various anti-Zionist groups online with phrases like, "May all Zionists burn." It is more than reasonable to conclude that anti-Zionism is deeply connected with the rising animus directed towards the Jewish community. Normalizing this speech only risks stoking and exacerbating these hostilities even further. This, no doubt, is a moment of great anxiety within the Jewish community, especially here in New York City, where anti-Semitism is surging. On Wednesday, the ADL Center on Extremism reported an alarming number of anti-Semitic incidents in New York City throughout the year 2025. This follows ADL's record-breaking count of 976 incidents in 2024. The report adds the brazenness and intensity of the 2025 incidents and their spread across all 5 boroughs are especially troubling. These trends indicate more than a passing surge. They provide evidence of a sustained pattern of harassment, intimidation, and violence that threatens Jewish New Yorkers' sense of safety and belonging. And so what are we to do? There are no easy answers to confronting the world's oldest hatred. But we know this. We know we must continue to stand up, to speak out, and combat anti-Semitism wherever it appears. We must continue to advocate for our community and hold institutions and those in power accountable for the anti-Semitism that occurs under their watch. We must also demand that our government respond to these attacks clearly and unequivocally, and we must elect those whom we believe will fulfill those duties. We must also ensure that there are comprehensive policies in place to protect our communities, all communities, and to hold all perpetrators of anti-Semitic hate crimes accountable. In her latest book, As a Jew, author Sara has nothing but praise for those who spend their days battling anti-Semitism. But in her mind, this fight may not be a winning battle. And so she offers another response for the Jewish community, invoking this week's Torah portion, Parashat Noach. In it, Noach finds himself surrounded by lawlessness and corruption, violence and terror. Therefore, God instructs him to build an ark for himself, for his family, and for 2 of every living creature. It is this ark that ferries Noah away from the chaos and disorder of the world. It is this ark that becomes his shelter from the storms that threaten to engulf him. It is this ark that protects him, his family, and his future. And it is this ark that safeguards his values, his principles, and his legacy. In response to the question, what should we do when confronted with anti-Semitism? Sara Hurwitz responds, build an ark. Really? Building an ark, she says, means coming here to synagogue, being part of a community, being the most proud, passionate, awesome, engaged Jews that you can be. It means reaffirming your place in Jewish life through learning, prayer, or community. It means fortifying your spirit with Jewish study and rekindling your Jewish curiosity. It means dedicating or rededicating yourself to Jewish living by taking classes or attending lectures, by joining the Well or Gather or Young Members or Women of Emanu-El or the Men's Club, by coming to striker events or volunteering at Sunday lunch or mitzvah day, by joining us for Torah study, or by being with us right here at Shabbat. Building an ark, says Hurwitz, is about building stronger Jewish communities that will help us not just withstand hatred, but live deeper, worthier, and more truly Jewish lives. The more we strengthen our identities and communities, the more resilient we become, and the better able we are to stand up to the scourge of anti-Semitism. The ark we seek to build is meant to shore up our community, to shelter us and strengthen us, to reinforce our bonds and to bolster our ties to one another and our history. It's also meant to be a refuge from those who would harm us or exclude us. As Hurwitz explains, if people aren't going to let you be in their clubs, form your own clubs. This is what Jews have always done in America. We have survived by building arks. But while the ark is meant to be a sanctuary, it is not meant to be a fortress. Hurwitz continues, form your own clubs, she says, but make them totally inclusive of anyone who wants to join. When people excluded us from their law firms and hospitals and universities, we formed our own, and they were so good that everyone wanted to join, and we welcomed them. The ark may be a haven from anti-Semitism, but it must never be a haven of isolation or exclusion. Even God understood this when instructing Noah to build the ark, for God commanded him to include a window, an opening for the daylight. God could have sealed Noah off from the world, shielding him from the devastation and destruction all around him, but the window maintains his connection to all of it, offering a view of the suffering and the pain that accompanies that flood. It served as a reminder that there is a world beyond that ark, one filled with complexity, with sorrow, and maybe even possibility. As Rabbi Ronit Sadok observed, the thing about the window on the ark is that it brings the outside world in. When we're scared and overwhelmed, it can be hard to look beyond ourselves. God understands this impulse to retreat to what feels safe. But we were never meant to care only for ourselves or our community. We have always been asked to look outward, to see and respond to the needs of others. With the window, God gathers all these lessons into one enduring teaching: to simply look outside. When I look out the window of my office, I see the children playing once more, joyfully riding tricycles and playing hide and seek. Today, this playground is their sacred ark. But as they grow, their ark will grow too, from this playground to a religious school classroom, to the bima as they become b'nai mitzvah, to the sanctuary as they lead us for confirmation. And while they will soon learn that the world outside that ark is not always kind, I pray they will not be afraid, knowing their ark is sturdy and strong enough to carry them through the tumultuous waves of life, and sturdy enough to welcome all who would ever wish to enter. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May every ark we construct contribute towards building a life rich in Torah and a world full of love.